Well, we liked that real lot because then we could afford to, we had a clause in there where we were allowed to prepay
20% a year,
a year.
you know, to them.
But in those days, every once in a while, we would get a little bonus down at work, $1,000 or so. That all plunked down at the house, you
Yeah,
know.
the prepayment. So
And
we
in-
had it paid off in
In
5
5 years, we paid it off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because about that time, he was gonna be graduating
I'm going
in
to college.
high school and going to college. So instead of making the payments on the house, we were socking away the money
For
to pay
college.
for his education.
Now, what grade was he in when you moved to Brookfield?
He was in grade school.
Seventh grade, I think?
Yeah, he was still in 7th grade.
That was the first grade you went into in Brookfield?
Yeah.
Seventh
Well, I
grade?
think you lost 6 months over there.
Yeah, I think you lost 6 months.
One semester.
You had to do part of 6 over and then went into 7.
Seven.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
because we moved in the middle of the year.
That's right.
We moved in November.
Yeah.
November. Do you remember you and I digging the ditch out there in that cold to run a wire to the garage? There was no electricity in the garage.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
we dug a ditch.
yeah.
I went out and got the
Romex,
cable,
yeah.
and we strung it back there. So we would have.
So that was pretty traumatic. I mean, you were very happy, of course, to have your own house, but how did it feel to leave the old neighborhood and all that?
Well,
we
I'll tell you,
said too
one of
much.
the main reasons why we were anxious to get away from there was nobody for
Yeah,
him to play
all
with.
the kids, there were only the 2 girls.
Mhm.
Donna Fantozzi and Blondine, the one that I was telling you about, that her dad called you, the
Yeah.
Donatis. Okay. And, you know, he was playing with now the boys were all much older than him. And they didn't, you know, half the times they'd shun him and, so he really didn't have anyone his age to play with.
Well, shortly after we got settled, we wanted to get him in the Boy Scouts. So I found out that they were having the meetings down at
St. Barbara's
St. Barbara's School,
Church.
remember?
Mhm.
Church.
And you and I went there one night when they were having their meeting, and we sat there and we sat there, and nobody would talk to us. So we finally went home. The next time they were having a meeting, we went there again. Finally, there was another guy came in, and he asked, you know, are you waiting to talk to somebody? I said,
Yeah.
sure, we want to see if we can get my son in the Scouts.
Yeah,
He
but
said,
you're
"Oh."
supposed to talk up. You don't
He
just
says,
sit there and
They were having their meetings over there. I
Yeah,
didn't want to
so-
break in on them.
Sooner, either at
That
the
was
beginning.
Kessel, old man Kessel
or
was the
later.
commissioner. And Tom was, no,
I would
Don.
put it down
Don
a lot
was,
sooner.
he was an
First
Eagle
time
Scout.
we-
In fact, he was a Scoutmaster.
Mhm.
And the young brother,
Ken,
Ken,
Kenny, he was,
Yeah.
that's right, he became Dr. Ken Kessel afterward.
yeah.
So that's how we
Don,
happened
I
to get
think,
him
was
in
still
there.
a
And
teacher.
that was the beginning of him getting acquainted with all the kids in there. He had a good time.
yes,
I think-
as I remember, I didn't mind leaving the old neighborhood at all, I think.
You
I don't
know?
remember.
No, because really there was nothing there for you. The older boys, you know, they didn't want to have him tagging along and always playing with the girls. And
And your parents had already moved to
yes,
Riverside
they
by that
were in
time.
Her parents,
Riverside.
yeah.
And
Was the old neighborhood sort of, in terms of the people that you were closest to, others were beginning to leave?
Well,
by
the young
that
people
time?
yes.
started to
Oh,
move
yes.
away. The
Well,
old
then,
people stayed there.
when we, right after we moved to Brookfield, then Flora moved to North Riverside, Alice moved,
Yeah, all
which
the
is
young-
the next little town, moved to North Riverside, and a lot of, right now,
I wouldn't know anybody over there now.
Bruna is still on
Oh,
Oak Bay
my
Avenue.
cousin, yeah.
That's it, I think. Other than that, the whole neighborhood has changed completely.
And yet it's still known as an
Yes.
important Italian neighborhood.
That's
yeah.
right. Well, and it still is, but they're mostly people that have come over
More
within the
recently.
last 15, 20 years. Like the Marconis, they came over in that period. And of course, then they opened the restaurant, and at that time, that used to be Teeny's Ice Cream Parlor.
That's right,
remember?
yeah.
Now you had, there were two things I remember that I wanted to ask about. One was the great sewer rat incident.
Oh, yes, yes.
How old was I when that happened?
Oh, gosh. You were just, what, maybe 2, 1, 2?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Well, this was on
That-
Oakley Avenue
That,
then.
Oh, that was chewing the bottom of the door, trying to
that's
get in the
right,
house.
Trying to get in the house.
See, we had converted the one bedroom, the back bedroom closest to the porch, into a boiler room so that we could have central heating. And I dug a tunnel underneath the house, 3 feet wide and 3 feet deep, with a shovel and rolling the stuff out in the back. I worked on it for a month, making this tunnel so they could run the pipes under there. And then old man Doro and I mixed the cement, and we made a wall and a cement floor with connected
With
a
a drain.
sewer.
Yeah, connecting
And
it to
we
the
did all
sewer.
that, and
And then we had 2 steps going up
up
to the level.
up into the house.
Because it was like a little basement, is what it
At
was.
that time, the chimney for the furnace was in that boiler room. And, no, it wasn't. I take it back.
It was in
It
the
went through the
kitchen.
wall into his bedroom and into the chimney, which was in the center of the house. But one night, we heard this grinding noise and boom, boom, boom.
You couldn't imagine.
We went over and looked, and half of the bottom of the door was chewed away. This thing must have been a foot long.
Which door? The door
Boiler
leading
room.
into that
He had
boiler
come
room?
up through
Yeah.
the sewer.
The door from the kitchen into the boiler room?
Right.
Right.
He had come up from the sewer and he was trying to get into the house. Oh man, I don't remember how the heck we got rid of him.
I think you shot him.
I think you shot him with the shotgun.
That's right. Because we saw, there, one day I'm standing before the porch was enclosed, I'm standing at the kitchen window and I see this huge rat passing by. And I hollered, Dino, there's that, and he was going nice and slow, you know.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, yeah.
And you got the
I
gun and
blasted
shot
him.
him. Yeah.
That's right. That's
And
when I
after
still had my
that,
12
we
gauge
never-
shotgun.
Yeah, we never heard anymore, so we assumed that this was the
That was
guy
the only one.
that was
He came up-
finding his
He was
way.
a sewer rat.
I don't know how.
They get big, especially in
Oh.
Chicago.
So you shot him outside when he
Yeah.
was outside?
Yeah, outside.
Out in the yard,
Wow.
yeah.
But, well, you know, we used to have a shed in the back. And that's where we tore it down because of that. It was infested back there.
Yeah,
And
you know, and they
we cleaned all that out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And you had two great uncles, Caesar and Napoleon. The one guy was an engineer who built bridges or something.
Yeah.
And he had gone back to Italy at some point and taken.
No, he was the smart one. He had gone to Washington. They were twin
Yeah.
men, you know. One was Napoleon and the other one was Cesare, yeah, Caesar. He was the smart one. He was the engineer. He was the one that designed several bridges in Chicago.
Now, they were great uncles of yours?
Who
Yeah.
were they related to, your father or your mother?
My father. They were Kiostries.
They were his uncles.
His uncles, right, my great uncles, they would have been. And then Caesar died, and Napoleon inherited all the money. So this twerp goes to Italy.
this was during Mussolini's reign now.
Yeah, and of course, the money and everything was confiscated.
Everything, he
So
lost
when he-
everything.
By
When he
Mussolini.
came back,
Sure.
of course, after the war, he had nothing. And that was when Mrs. Davis took him in,
Yeah.
because he was very sick too. Remember, we went there and we were all saying a prayer, and I remember I got so sick I thought I was going to pass out. I had to leave the room, and then he passed away in a couple of days.
But on
he
his
lost
first visit
everything.
to Chicago, on his way to Italy, he stopped at your father's place, and he took you downtown or something? Remember? I remember you telling me, he made you walk.
Yeah, he was a real stingy guy, and he brought us something. What was it that we couldn't possibly use?
Oh, hold on a minute.
Okay, now,
We lived in Brookfield
well, for 30
for
years.
30 years, and then, of course, we've ended up here in Florida.
Oh, wait a minute, there was one other thing I wanted to ask about. Not a happy story, but I think we should have it on the tape, and that's how Rigoletto got captured, got shot by the Nazis.
I was just reading Luigina and Gloria's
Oh,
thing here. Anyway, yeah, that was in the Second World War, wasn't it?
Second World War.
Yeah. The cousins that you met, both Angelo and Gino, had been conscripted, is that the word?
yeah, mhm.
That, for labor,
In Germany.
in Germany. But somehow or other, Rigoletto had been lucky. I guess they were leaving one of a family at home. But then when the war got
They
really,
used to hide these men.
yeah, and not only that, but when the battles seemed to be getting closer and Italy was really involved, and I think, did Il Duce give up before? Hadn't Italy been overrun before?
Yeah,
they went into
Italy
Germany?
surrendered before
Yeah,
Germany.
before. So when the Germans were leaving, they were taking all the able-bodied men with them when they were retreating, in a sense. And of course,
Well, he was working in the yard,
yeah,
and Luigina was, his wife, was in the yard too, when
With the
this
boy.
truck came along, picking up whatever they could get. So he was working not too far away from the yard in the field there. And when they saw the truck coming, he laid down in a ditch to hide from them. But the truck came in the yard, and they were scouting around. The guys got off, they were looking in all the different places there. And Luigina panicked. So when this guy started walking close enough to where he was hiding, she started hollering, "Corri, corri," run, run. And he panicked and he started running, and they shot him down. So it actually was her fault that he got
no,
killed.
it wasn't your fault.
Yes, it
was
was.
one of those things that happened.
If she'd have kept quiet, they wouldn't have seen him. He was a real tall
don't
grass
know.
down in a ditch.
No.
Now, what exactly relationship did he have to you,
Luigina?
or Rigoletto?
No, Rigoletto. He was your
He was my
cousin.
cousin.
Yeah.
First cousin.
Just like Angelo and
Oh,
Yeah,
so
he was
he was
Angelo
there- he was
and
the oldest.
Gino's brother.
Ah.
yeah, he was the oldest.
Yeah.
Now, just also relative to that, tell about how you've kept in touch with all of these people all of these years,
Oh.
Oh, yeah,
and
well,
especially during the war, you were sending them things.
up until about 1980, I would say. No, before that, 97, in the 70s. See, right after the war, the government allowed the sharecroppers to buy the land that they had been working at, I think it was about 1%.
That was after the Marshall Plan went into effect, which was a wonderful thing
Well,
for
the Marshall
Italy.
Plan is what paid for everything.
Yeah,
And anybody with a little common sense to this day will say, if it wasn't for the United States, Italy would have been gone. Anyhow, they were allowed to buy the land. So Gino wanted his own land. And Angelino was, I don't know where he hadn't come back yet. So when Angelino came back, Gino asked him to take over his duties with this family that they were taking care of. Because Gino wanted to get the land on this government loan business.
Well, he had the beginnings of a family. He had
Already,
Rigoletto
that's right.
already.
Instead, Angelino didn't have any kids. He and his wife and her sister were together. So that's how he got to take the job over at the Rossi's mansion or villa or whatever you want to call it.